There's been more mass shootings than days so far this year, and I've been thinking a lot about some of the young boys, black boys, in the case of Ralph Yarl, the 16-year-old, who fortunately now is in a stable condition, after going to the wrong house to pick up his siblings, and instead of someone just going, "Oh, are you okay? Like, are you supposed to be here? Are you in the wrong house?" No, they just shot him in the forehead, and then as he lay on the ground, shot him in the arm. And then the guy runs away. This kid just runs for his life, knocking on doors, trying to find someone who's prepared to answer the door and call the police. I mean, is it me, or are people just terrified now? Are just terrified of everything? Is that all of this rhetoric, this anti-black, anti-brown, xenophobic and racist rhetoric that we've heard from the disgraced former president, that you hear on Fox, that you hear on these right-wing news channels and on talk radio, is it that all of this hatred and this kind of build-up over decades has now got to a point where, young black people are just fair game? The likes of Ahmaud Arbery can just be lynched in the street by three white guys and they just think they're going to get away with it. Or Derek Chauvin, as a police officer wearing a uniform, thinks he can get away with killing George Floyd because, one less black person on the street is better for society. I mean, is that what it's come to? I mean, where we get to a point where all of the progress made during the civil rights movement is for what? And so it occurred to me, and I was thinking about why there is this moment in history where there is this opportunity to do something, school shootings, children slain, like families devastated, and yet Republicans showing absolutely no appetite for any kind of gun safety reform. Anything, not even a little bit. And it made me realize that, for them it's not really about the death of children or young black boys or anybody, losing their life and the families having to deal with the effects of that. It's just about owning the libs. It's almost like gun control and gun safety measures are so now attached to Democrats and Democrats wanting to do anything. And because this partisan attitude is so it's so split, there is no appetite for any kind of cross-party legislation because there is this hatred of the Democrats. And now gun safety and all of that stuff has been kind of wrapped into a kind of Democrat policy space. And that means that whatever the finer detail of trying to deal with this problem is, that Republicans are just going to reject it because it's Democrat stuff, in the same way that climate change is Democrat stuff and coronavirus was Democrat stuff. I mean, that's the tragedy of the greatest problems that America is facing right now. More young people, children, die from gunshot wounds than anything else. It's not teenage cancer or any, road traffic accidents. It's gunshot wounds. It doesn't happen in any other country on this planet. Only the United States of America has a gun violence problem. Look at the graphs. Look at the data. Other countries, even where I'm from, it's zero. Zero are the number of gun deaths. And we're only 4 months into 2023. It's inconceivable. And families are inconsolable. And yet Republicans, and, there's been a few of them, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, he summed up the Republican Party's deliberate impotence against an epidemic of gun violence and mass shootings that distinguishes the U.S. from just about every other nation. He was filmed on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. He said, it's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it.
If you think Washington's going to fix this problem, you're wrong. They're not going to fix this problem. They are the problem.
It doesn't concern you that other countries don't have this level of gun violence?
Other countries don't have our freedom either.
That's what he said. We're not going to fix it. Why? Because it's Democrat stuff. It's just, it's an issue for the left. And this whole Second Amendment kind of patriotic, you can't take away our guns, it's just top line. There's like zero detail. For them, it's like there's nothing between taking away all guns and nobody having access to a firearm and their Second Amendment rights, when in reality all Democrats are asking to do is to ban these assault rifles that are really designed for the theater of war. They shouldn't be in the public's hands, and yet millions of them have been sold. I mean, to a certain extent, the horse has bolted. You would have to have a kind of nationwide amnesty asking people to return these semi-automatic weapons, or you would have to pay people to give them back. I mean, it's not a bad idea, really, is it? Give you more than it's worth just to rid the streets of these rifles. But in reality, there will be ongoing, and we just saw the NRA conference, which Donald Trump proudly stood at and said, I am the most pro-gun, most pro-Second Amendment candidate for president in history. He is getting behind that movement because he knows that that's where his base is. But when you survey people, even the Trump supporters, they don't want their children to be slain in school. And when you survey the country, like the wider country, and ask the people, they are absolutely happy for there to be some gun safety legislation. It's only the legislators on the right that don't want to do anything about it because it's such a divisive issue and they know that they will lose votes over it. And votes and power and money are more important to Republican legislators than the lives of children, the lives of people like this young kid who innocently went to the wrong house to pick up his siblings. I'm Anthony Davis. You can hear me every day on the 5-Minute News podcast and on Sundays on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.